First, I have something prepared for, but I just have some problems with that community benefits number. $98 million, 68 turbines, divide that out by 30 years. That means these landowners get $48,000 a year. That's not what I've seen in contracts. So I have a real problem with that number. I would like to, our group would like to present this. Deuel County is already involved in litigation concerning the decisions with regard to bias. We should not be meeting, nor should you be having a hearing or a permit regarding the wind energy systems until the legal resolution has been reached. We ask this hearing be terminated immediately. Okay. I wrote up some facts and findings. You know, I don't know you guys very well because I'm not from here, but I can tell you, if you deny this permit today to protect the public, health and safety, and you're going to hear from a lot of people telling you about health and safety, if you deny that, no judge will overturn you doing your job of protecting your community members. They just won't. The maps included in the application were from 2015, so this has been going on for a while. You can find a lot of conflicts of interest in there. The Deuel County Board of Adjustments did not retain any independent experts to analyze the technical information provided in this application. I don't think anybody on your board has an engineering degree or is doing that scientific work and has that training in order to make these judgments. The Crown Ridge Special Exemption Application, the necessary easements from landowners have been obtained for the development and construction of the WES. Some of these easements submitted have not been renewed as per the August 31st, 2012 letter. In that letter, it gives the reason that this shouldn't even be going forward. The letter right here that is submitted with the application from Boulevard Associates to the community members. Paul Brandt's letter is right here. The decision to discontinue your agreement was based on the list of criteria, including the market opportunities, wind resource, and environmental that led us to the decision to terminate your wind contract, your wind farm agreement with Boulevard Associates. So if there's any environmental problems going on right here, that they terminate agreements, why are we going forward? If there's the wind resources in here, why are they here? Is it for subsidies? The application submitted new maps. The applicant submitted new maps. That's my time? Okay. Please deny this permit. Public health and safety.
You should have their mic.
Gary Alabron. State your name and where you're from, please.
Gary Alabron, good one. On behalf of, I had Robert Rand from Rand Acoustics. I hired him to do a sound analyst of the Crown Ridge 1 and 2. I respectfully submit this peer review on the noise prediction of Crown Ridge 1 and 2 special exemption application dated August 2018. INCE rules of practice require approving only noise control engineering studies, reports, or work which, to the best of the reviewer's knowledge and belief, is safe for public health, property, and welfare in the conformance with accepted practice. Opinions are given to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. This review analyst is based in part on Revelance American National Standard Institute standard or International Standard Organization. On the years of experience evaluating predictive models and measuring noise levels for power, industrial, commercial, and wind turbine facilities. In my professional opinion, that the facility noise assessment in the application contains omission and does not assure compliance with the regulatory limits. The application omits the estimated accuracy of calculation in ISO 9613-2 which is plus or minus 3% DBA with 1,000 meters and no estimate of actually beyond 1,000 meters. According to the ISO 9613-2, estimated accuracy of calculation, probable actual noise level appears certain to exceed ordinance B209-01-23B, section 1215.03 45 dBA regulatory noise limit at 19 non-participating residents in the facility for permitted and operated as proposed. See table 1 in the letter. The applicant will make assessments of responsibility in the Deuel comprehensive plan to promote compatible development in the rural area, promote only responsible residential, commercial, and industrial development based upon strong siting criteria. Predicted noise levels in the applicant's appendix C exceeds 40 dBA in some 29 non-participating residents, and that's also in the table. The conclusion is that the facility, as designed, would contribute to sleep disturbance at multiple residents in the vicinity of the proposed facility if it were built and operated. The county ordinance section 103 requires, in their interpretation of an application, the provision of the ordinance shall be held to a minimum requirement adopted for the portion of public health, safety, moral, and general welfare. In the terms of noise citing criteria, this county requirement is taken to mean that the noise level under the regulatory noise limit, that also either consistency with sleep disturbance, incompatibility with the land use, will not be considered automatically in compliance with the regulatory goal. Take your time.
Are we talking to them to answer a question? Yeah.
Loretta Franz.
Can you hear me now? So I have a few questions. Can you hear? Sorry. Loretta Franz, Goodland, South Dakota. So my question to the board are, how many turbines are being put in wetlands? And do you want to answer at this time? No? Has an independent engineer reviewed and found safe for the environment and the stability for the turbines foundation? No? Who will review and approve the culverts placement? If you need culverts? No? Who do I call if the water is redirected to my land? No? What happens when the drainage tile is crushed from the heavy equipment and the water is redirected once? Will it come back and flood another area? No? How can you permit turbines in the aquifers that are protected? These are the areas in the blue. Areas in the blue are the turbines and the aquifer protections. So how, and during construction, is the company pile driving or micro drilling? Does anybody have any answers? These are the questions that we do have to have some answers to. So where they're out there doing their tiling now, when the heavy equipment comes over, does that crush the drainage tile? I thank you much.
should have them to put some heat in here. Oh my God, it's freezing cold.
Mike Davis.
Oh, that's me. Oh, we're long sleeve shirt.
Hi everyone, I'm here on behalf of John Estlin, who couldn't make it, and that's where this letter comes from. A letter from Chairman, well, I'm gonna butcher this
Can't
up,
hear him.
Kenjitter and members of the board. Mr. Kenjitter, I'm sorry, that probably isn't right, but it passed a copy, an article that I wrote, of aircraft detection lighting systems that was printed in the August 8, 2018 edition of the Clear Lake Courier. If you have not read it, I would encourage you to do so. In respect of your time, it can be summarized as follows. At the January 27, 2018 public hearing, the developer of Deuel Harvest North and South Wind Farms stated the aircraft detection lighting systems were unapproved technology. That is not correct. According to Stephen Phillips, air traffic controller, FAA, currently there's an aircraft detection lighting system that are approved for us by the FAA. Other wind energy systems in our area are including aircraft detection lighting systems such as Dakota Range 1, Dakota Range 2, Cracker Wind Farm, and Prevailing Winds. In accordance with our zoning, your board is required or able to make statutory provisions and arrangements concerning proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatible with adjacent properties in the district. Urban lighting is exterior lighting settings required. These lights do have a negative economic effect of property and are not very applicable in our rural setting. Required an aircraft detection lighting system would be one way to provide required satisfactory provisions and agreements regarding these exterior lights. A study completed at a location where these systems is being used report that they have been seen nights where the lights are off 99% of the time. Turbine lighting will impact all of us, whether we are participants or not participants, providing aircraft protection. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brian.
Carrie Davis.
That was my husband Mike, and I'm Carrie Davis, we're from Goodwin. We want to know why a 50-year finance to a finance lease. Oh, you're
Yeah, really. It's way up there.
My name is Carrie, and that was my husband Mike Davis, we're from Goodwin. Why a 50 years finance lease for a 20-year turbine that only needs 1 acre? Please deny this permit. It does not fit with our community ordinance for 103 public health and safety. Thank you.
Amber Christensen.
Amber Christensen, my address is Strandberg, I live right by Troy. I travel to and through Deuel County often. I shop here, I have family here, my father is buried here. I cannot allow you to permit this project.
Section 278 of the Deuel County Ordinance stipulates to promote the public health, safety, welfare, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, prosperity, or general welfare in that order. You are not able to protect the public health and safety, the two most important items noted there. You also have not provided for the comfort or convenience of residents this year alone. At the County Commissioner meeting May 15th of this year, township members addressed the commission about the condition of township roads. Among other things, they cited many culverts were washed out and were in very bad condition to start with. Quality of road maintenance, finding good gravel to put on roads is a problem, heavy truckloads on these roads. So there are already issues with the roads in the county, and the county has not maintained them properly. Good gravel is not available, yet NextEra wants you to consider their permit. As a board, you know that is not possible. You cannot permit scarce resources to go to access roads for private enterprise instead of the good of the public in Deuel County. The roads would be damaged further and the public would endure much inconvenience. I visited a Deuel County rural home this year that is surrounded by turbines. When I exited my vehicle in their driveway, the turbine at the end of the driveway across the road was going clunk, 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 and did not stop. That is torturous. That family reported the issue. Nothing was done. For months they listened to the clunk. They couldn't turn it off. They could not stop the irritation. They were helpless, and the county did nothing to help them. They had no comfort nor quiet enjoyment of their property. They were trespassed upon. You are supposed to protect them according to your ordinance. You already are falling short. You cannot add to your shortfall. Now let's turn our attention to this applicant, NextEra. At this time, according to news reports from Oklahoma, NextEra is ignoring a cease and desist letter to stop construction on turbines that are believed to not be following the current law. Also, according to National Review, NextEra sued a blogger, Esther Reitman in Canada, for $4 million for calling them Next Terror and Next Error on her blog. Apparently, she hurt their feelings. According to the article, they have at least 5 other lawsuits against rural communities. Is that who you want to allow into Deuel County, or are you going to protect the county and its residents, as is your charge? NextEra is already ignoring the Deuel County law by proceeding with turbine work without a permit or a road haul agreement. Dr. Chris Olson, not a medical doctor, who represents the interests of NextEra in a consultation capacity, was a co-leader of a presentation in 2014 in which he advocated for nighttime sound emissions of 40 dBA. That documentation is being submitted this evening for your review. I demand you deny this permit in accordance with ordinance sections I have mentioned above. Thank you.
Wayne Borkey. Wayne, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Pine?
Good to hear me. No? Shoot.
Can
You
you
need
hear
a
me?
new mic.
I'm Wayne Borkey from Waverly. I'm reading a letter on behalf of Nancy Hensland, who lives near Lake Alice. Our Deuel County ordinance requires the Board of Adjustment certify that satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made considering the economic, noise, odor, and other effects of the special exception on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. In the case of WES, this is not a simple task. I realize it is difficult, but can you explain what satisfactory provisions and arrangements are going to be made considering the economic impacts on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district, especially those who are non-participants? Repeatedly, I was told that the wind turbines do not affect property values. If that is the case, why did 3 different WES developers state when Deuel County was updating its WES ordinance that they could not provide property value guarantees? If there is no loss in value, it should not be a problem. Well, the problem for the developer is twofold. First, if you have a home adjacent to or near a wind turbine, it will negatively affect the property value. The amount of impact increases as the distance between the home and the wind turbine decreases. The amount of impact can be as high as 60% of its value, or be impacted so severely there is no market value at all. Second, in most cases, developers plan to sell the WES at times even before it is completed. A property value guarantee makes the sales more difficult for the developer. It boils down to less profits for them. Non-participants should not be economically penalized in order for the developer to maximize his profit. Let's go back to the difficult task before the board. The special exception permit application before you will not protect the property values of non-participants that are impacted by this project. Our zoning provides 4 times the turbine height setback, but that is mostly short of protecting investments that people have in their homes. There are options such as increasing setbacks, property value guarantees, minimizing the WES footprint, relocating turbines. Combination of these options and denying the application. I am of the opinion that property value guarantees should be part of the solution. In closing, I again request, please explain what satisfactory provisions and arrangements are going to be made concerning the economic impact on adjoining property and properties generally in the district, especially for those who are non-participants. If satisfactory provisions and arrangements cannot be made, deny the application. Thank you. I also want to add, to force onto people who are unwilling and unable to afford the risk that you're imposing on them is called tyranny. To approve this permit without a guaranteed protection for those people is tyranny. I raised my right hand, made an oath 46 years ago to defend against tyranny, and that oath still stands today. I'm a retired military. They call us soldiers for life. Now, to the Board of Commissioners, how do you plan to fulfill that obligation and protect these people from that tyranny?
Richard Ray. Is there a Richard Ray? Looks like R-A-Y on your name.
Yeah, I have trouble with you right.
Richard Rawl from Goodwin. During thunderstorms, the safest place to be is inside a building. As a child, I used to count the number of seconds from the lightning flashes until you heard the thunder, divide seconds by 5 to get the distance of the lightning bolt. Sound waves travel in cone shape from the source and spread out and also travel through house walls, windows, will continue until no energy is left for miles. The pebbles and the pond effect. Construction and decommissioning of this project will exceed the 45 decibel limits in the wind energy system, section 12-1502. You guys give me a better restart my time now.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. The last guy's mic cut out. I want mic now. Please, just relax. Well, your mic don't work. Just relax. Maybe your mic don't work.
Right behind you there.
Try it. Okay, thank you. Can I start over?
Yes.
Yeah. Start over.
During thunderstorms, the safest place to be is inside a building. As a child, I used to count the number of seconds from lightning flashes until you heard the thunder. Divide seconds by 5 to get this distance from the lightning bolt. Sound waves travel in a cone shape from the source and spread out and also travel through house walls, windows, and continue until no energy is left for miles. The pebbles and the pond effect. Construction and decommissioning of this project will exceed 45 decibel limit in the wind energy system, section 1215.02. Required backup alarms on equipment is 97 decibels. OSHA requires hearing protection on industrial noise for anything above 86 decibels. 10 years ago, I attended a wind tower information meeting at Lake Benson Visitor Center. Conveniently, all the wind towers around that center were down for maintenance, so those attending could not hear how loud they are. My wife confronted the company rep about the noise in the towers around the center. His response, quote, "I was told not to bring the stack of reports, which is about a foot thick, to the meeting. They all said they didn't know how many decibels they were. The truth is, they didn't want to tell us." A few days later, we drove to an operating tower that was a tenth of a mile from the main road. My wife got out deafening. I idled my Dodge diesel pickup with the window open halfway to the tower from the main road. Noise was louder than the diesel engine inside the cab. I got out from the truck and walked 3 feet and had to plug my ears. The FBI used loud music 24/7 on April 20, 1993 during the standoff of the Branch Davidian in Waco, Texas. During the Persian Gulf War in 1991, the same tactic was used to demoralize Iraqi troops in the desert due to lack of sleep. Loud noise is a form of torture. However, the sound emitted from the tower is not constant, it pulsates with blade rotation. It's like a fire extinguisher trigger squeezed and released. I have 2 Arab horses which are known to spook very easily. Horses have 2 major defenses for prey animals, fight or flight. The majority of the time, horses run away from scary noises, so my horses will be continually trying to run away from the noise. Besides blade rotation noise, there is the constant hum of transformers, fans, etc. associated with the tower operation. That's audible noise. Inaudible or infrasound noise at frequencies below human hearing, which interferes with the balance of the organs of the inner ear, causes them to vibrate. This is called wind turbine syndrome, which can lead to any of the following diseases: nausea, headaches, ear pain, lack of sleep, also caused by loud noise, chest pressure, heart palpitations, which causes death, migraines, and suicide. It's also called vibroacoustic disease, which causes depression, irritability, aggressiveness, and thickening of the cardiovascular structure as a result of the pulsation shock rotation. By allowing this wind farm to get permitted, you are slowly killing the people, which is attempted murder, and it's also punishable by a jail term of 4 to 7 years. We moved from White to get away from the towers. Why should my wife and I, or anyone else, be subjugated, forced to live with this noise, which is torture? Would you? I'll have 3 towers within a half a mile of my acreage. Farming is a way of life. Keep Deuel County as ag, not as a wind industry. As Deuel County Board of Adjusters, you are responsible for the people and are legally liable for their well-being. Deny this application for the county citizens and my family's well-being. I don't want to have to move again. Thank you.
Amy Rawl.
I'm Amy Rawl from Goodwin. Would you want to live or buy a house with almost 500-foot tower close by? Nobody would. You want to deal with the noise of the health issues. It will scare away the domestic animals and wildlife. Seeing those ugly monstrosities and additional transmission lines will cause property values to go down. Where is the power to operate these towers when they are not functioning supposed to come from? There is 1 mile setback around the town of Goodwin, which will not be able to grow. New residents will not be able to have the opportunity to build a house or to expand the town. Goodwin will become the ghost town. How will that help with your county taxes? You as Board of Adjusters are supposed to look out for the safety and health and well-being of the residents and promote growth in the county. Think about the residents of the county, not just your bank account. If the turbines are so great, why doesn't the MLS have turbine search feature? Deny this application.
Roger Rust.
Roger Russ from Goodman, South Dakota. My grandpa, my mother, and I have farmed in Rome Township all our life, and it's been a very good township, stable throughout all the years. Very little crime, very little everything. As a Board of Adjustment, by approving this, can you guarantee that Rome Township will stay safe all these years for my grandpa, my mother, and me? I am an opponent. Thank you.
Jacob Butler.
I know him too.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Beutler. I'm a resident of Goodwin Township. Per Deuel County zoning ordinance, section 1215.03, general provisions for wind energy system requirements. Number 13, noise and shadow flicker, line B states, limit for allowable shadow flicker at existing residence to no more than 30 hours annually. The special exception permit application submitted by Crown Ridge Wind 2 LLC attempts to address this zoning regulation with the report presented in Appendix I, shadow flicker and sound pressure report. This report is both flawed and insufficiently addresses the zoning regulation. The report was prepared by EAPC Wind Energy with the signature page signed by Jay Haley as the author, checked by, and approved by. This should raise a red flag, as there is no oversight when all three signature lines are signed by the same person. More so, there is no South Dakota license or credentials for this individual or stamp certification on the report. The very first paragraph in this report is a legal notice and disclaimer that states the report was prepared for the express benefit of Crown Ridge Wind 2 LLC. And it continues with the statement that EAPC does not make any warranty, expressed or implied, or with respect to the use of any information or methods disclosed in this report. So not only is the report not guaranteed, but the methods used to create the report are not either. And this is the biggest issue. How they created the flicker report. It was made using a computer-generated model, not real data or collection. And this is the original report, and no revisions have ever been made to it. That means that all the tower locations and all the existing residents passed the model the very first time, or just maybe the model was adjusted so that they would. The computer model used monthly sunshine probabilities for Huron, South Dakota, a town over 100 miles away. Sunshine probability means the average amount of sunshine, average being the key word here, based on the sun being present and the amount of cloud cover. The model also used average wind speed and average direction of wind to account for the turbine rotation and the direction it faced. Again, all based on averages. The ordinance does not say a flicker cannot average over 30 hours annually. It says it can be no more than 30 hours annually, period. This model and report need to be based on the worst case scenario, not an average. If it happens to be an above average sunny year, are they going to remove the tower? So my question for the board is there a mechanism in place for a resident to challenge a tower that is exceeding either the flicker or sound limits set forth by the zoning ordinance? No response. In closing, I leave the board with this. Section 103 of the Deuel County zoning ordinance states that the provisions of the ordinance shall be held to a minimum requirement adopted for the promotion of the public health, safety, moral, or general welfare. This applicant does not show sufficient evidence to meet the flicker requirement, which is a direct health issue. For this reason, I ask the board to deny the permit.
Laura Oppelt.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Laura Oppelt, and I live on 12 acres of land in Deuel County near Goodwin. I am a stay-at-home, homeschooling mother of 3. I love living in South Dakota. I have the freedom to raise my children, to know how to work hard as a family and teach them the satisfaction and value of producing our own food by raising animals and having a garden. Because I have chosen to teach my children at home, my kids and I are always home. The proposed Crown Ridge Wind Farm project will change everything that I love about living in the country. Now I enjoy peace and quiet and safety for my family and animals. The wind farm will bring noise and safety hazards, negative health effects on my family and the animals I raise, and cause disruption of communication services, which I depend on to teach my children. Section 103 ordinance provisions are to be upheld to promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. My question to you is this: are there any ways in which this project will promote public health, safety, morals, and the general welfare of the people who live here? This project does not meet the county ordinances, and I ask the board to deny the Crown Bridge permit. Thank you.
I can't read this next signature. I think it says Tim Lindgren.
I'm Tim Lindgren. I'm from the South Shore Waverly area. I'm here speaking on behalf of my wife Linda, who couldn't be here tonight. I always thought that wind power is green. After all, wind is free and natural. In fact, when you study the effects of wind towers and what goes into them, you will see that it is just the opposite. You need a good wind, of course, for wind power. You also need petroleum, natural gas, and coal. It takes tons of coal to make the steel for these giant towers, petroleum for the blades. To keep everything inside the tower working smoothly, you need lubrication, which means oil. Making these towers requires tons of rare earth minerals, which are mined in China. Obtaining these minerals creates major damage to the earth, mainly in China. Electric companies are forced to buy the non-consistent electricity at a high price while still having to maintain a constant source of electricity to keep the grid running smoothly. Wind is not constant. Wind power negatively affects the health of animals and people due to the sound that you can hear and the sound you can't. The flicker problem, underground vibrations, ice on the blades flying off, etc., to name a few, are some of the problems caused by these towers. How is tons of fossil fuels, rare earth mineral, and oil to make and maintain these huge towers going green? They harm the environment, people's health, and the ecosystem. I hear people say such things as, we need green energy, the Lord gave us wind, we need to go get these in as reasons for not heeding people's request for a 2-mile setback from non-participating landowners' property lines with a waiver and 2-mile setback from wildlife nests. Please do the research and do not be fooled. You must deny this permit in accordance with Deuel County Ordinance Section 103 minimum requirements adopted for the promotion in public health, safety and morals, or general welfare. Also Section 278 special exemption if controlled to the number, area, location, or relation to the neighborhood would promote the public health, safety, welfare, morals, order, comfort, convenience, appearance, prosperity, or general welfare. This permit would violate the Deuel County ordinance and must be denied.
I can't make out this next name, either the first name or the last name, so if there's any individual out there that signed it, whose name doesn't get called, you can bring that to our attention at the end.
Martin? Matt?
Wait. Dennis Garvey.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Garvey, and I'm speaking on behalf of my son Brent Garvey. I actually live in Cottington County, but Brent, who's not able to attend tonight's meeting, is a rural resident of Goodwin. He's resided in Goodwin Township for 7 years now. He purchased some acres and built a residence there. Part of the reason he purchased acres and moved to a rural area was to enjoy the peace and tranquility of the rural countryside. He moved to the country clearly understanding the impacts of farming operations, enjoys the sights and sounds that farming carries with it. It is the opinion that industrial wind turbines are not part of that agreement. The negative impacts that wind turbines will cause on the way of life, property, and family are very detrimental. From the peace and quiet of a morning sunrise to a colorful sunset, wind turbines will change that way of life. Industrial wind turbines carry shadow flicker, noise, visible red lights, and all of the negative impacts that living in an industrial zone brings along with it. This is not what we as residents agreed to when we were investing in Deuel County and built homes. In reviewing the comprehensive land use policy for Deuel County, the plan clearly states that the county acreage requirement, 3 acres, was made to ensure that there were not small developments spread all over the county. The plan states this was done to ensure there was not excessive removal of farmland from agricultural use. And a quote from that is, "The end result of small lot development in the established rural agricultural area is the removal of prime farmland from its highest and best use." The plan clearly identifies one of the key problems with the proposed industrial wind turbines, the removal of the prime farmland from its highest and best use. If we grant approval of the 68 Crown Bridge wind turbines scattered throughout the proposed area, that farmland will be removed from its highest and best use forever. Deuel County Zoning Ordinance Section 209 defines agricultural as the use of land for agricultural purposes, including farming, dairying, raising, breeding, or management of livestock, poultry, honeybees, truck gardening, forestry, horticulture, floriculture, viticulture, and the necessary accessory uses for packaging, cleaning, or storing the produce, providing that the operation of any such accessory use shall be secondary to the normal agricultural activities. The land where the turbines are proposed is agricultural. Under the definition of agriculture, there's no way that the industrial wind turbines are included as a proper use of the agricultural land. On that basis alone, the permit should be denied, as it does not fit with the primary use of land in Deuel County. Section 104 of the Deuel County zoning ordinance also states that the duty of the county is to promote health and general welfare of the public. The negative impacts the proposed wind turbines cause are in direct conflict of this statement. Loss of property values, shadow flicker, noise, and ice snow are all reasons why turbines in the rural area of Deuel County will cause severe issues with residents. I do not stand to gain anything with the turbines, but I sure have a lot to lose in their proximity to my residents and the impact they will have on my family.
Mr. Garvey, your time is up.
Yes, thank you.
John and Pam Fever.
John, we were just told to sign in, so I don't have anything to say.
All right. That's all right. That's the way to do it.
Stephen and Mary Griever.
No, you don't.
Hi, I'm Stephen Griever. I reside in Rome Township, just north of Goodwin. I would like to address Section 103 and Section 278. As indicated by the photos, I've got attached here photos. To be entered, the turbine is proposed to be erected directly east of my residence. 30 hours or less of flicker per year, I'm not buying that. But basically all I got to say here is, I would like to read to you a text that I have submitted to County Commissioner Mr. Gary Yeager, along with a photo shot from the south side of my home. The text read, "This will be a beautiful view from my deck. I believe that clean energy is a good idea and alternative energy sources studied. Any new alternative source of energy needs to have a thorough technical, economic, and environmental assessment provided by the proponents. This way we can objectively know whether this new source is at least equal to our current source of power or not. If they are not, then we should not be wasting citizens' resources on them. To find out more about this process, you can go to energypresentation.info, where an independent scientist explains it all. Taxpayers and ratepayers shouldn't be burdened by paying for unproven products just because lobbyists have greased the skids. I thank you for your time. Stephen Griever, 17165 468th Avenue, Goodwin, South Dakota, 57238. Commissioner, Mr. Gary Yeager replied to my text. Thanks for the message. You are right. End of text. So I believe that even Commissioner Mr. Gary Yeager agrees that this is a waste of our taxpayer money and that we in Deuel County are being bribed with our own tax money to have these turbines erected. Please deny this permit. There are always debt and taxes. However, debt doesn't get worse every year. Also, please check www.windpowerfacts.info. Thank you.
Al Robish.
Makes me cold just looking at him in his t-shirt.
Alan Robish, Stramberg, South Dakota. Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the Deuel County ordinance and especially section 278 in regard to safety. And my company allowed me to split my work shift to address this important issue tonight. I am deeply concerned about safety. I have personal experience with wind turbine throwing chunks of ice. It happened to me in February of 2018 on Highway 59 south of Barron, Minnesota. I haul milk to Perham, Minnesota, and drive by a field with 10 turbines operating. One of them turbines threw ice over trees and a house, and it hit the road in front of me, and then the ice all smashed and went all over it. Okay, I stopped in Barrett in a convenience store for a cup of coffee and mentioned what had just happened, and I had never seen that happen before. The store clerk said it happens sometimes. At a later date, I borrowed a digital rangefinder to measure the distance from the turbine to the middle of the highway. It is 520 yards. There were two other incidents in Freeborn County, Minnesota, of ice throws, hitting a semi and one hitting a farmer's livestock trailer. My second concern is who's going to be held responsible for any damage, injury, or loss of life as a result of these huge blades throwing ice. Is it the developer, you, for allowing them to site them as close to people, animals, and property? The company who buys them, or is it the landowner who will be bankrupt? If ice is thrown from just one blade and not the other two, the massive vibration it creates would cause other damage. Maybe a broken blade or even damage to the tower of the turbine. The South Dakota PUC agrees the turbines could be imbalanced or create vibration due to ice accumulations. I've got a placard to show you. This is a warning placard from a wind production site, and the wind people put it up. It says, warning, do not pass this point for your safety. Ice and other heavy objects can be thrown long distances from wind turbine towers at high velocity and can kill. Here's an emergency number, and we got the number with Brookfield at the bottom. You'll get a copy to read this. Okay, I want to know what the safety manual provided by the manufacturer recommends for a safety zone around these industrial turbines. Farmers Insurance has 25 pages listing the liabilities for landowners and turbines on their property. What? Okay. Yeah. Thanks for listening to me because you guys paid attention.
Teresa Kaz.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Teresa Kaz. I hope you're enjoying your stay in the auditorium where I used to party as a young girl for homecoming. A blast. I am Teresa Cause. I'm from Coddington County, South Shore area. I'm a past resident of Deuel County, lived here for many years. My father, if you all want to know, was Tony Von Hoffman. I'm sure you remember the name. And I was one time mayor of Altamont. I have many family members that still reside in Deuel County. Think about 370 turbines now that are proposed, with a total of over 600 turbines covering border to border in Deuel County. The only open spaces will be around small municipalities and Clear Lake. Imagine it. The reason I'm here tonight is because I want to talk to you about decommissioning. It's Appendix J of the application, and it's covered in number 9 of the Deuel County Ordinance B200-01-23B. I was reading through this decommissioning, and I seen a little sign here, a little sentence that was a little darker than the rest. I apologize, I don't have my reading glasses on, but I'll do the best I can. It says a decommissioning plan that includes a requirement that the permittee post a bond or other adequate security sufficient to pay the entire cost of the decommissioning process. How weak is that? Do you really think that that's going to hold up with no monetary value at all placed on a decommissioning of, just say these 68 turbines? I am sorry here. I want you to know you're putting all of your residents at risk, including you leaseholders in this room and possibly on this board. You will be responsible for decommissioning and tearing things down. And if not you, it'll be your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren. Keep that in mind, all of you. In case of a natural disaster or malfunctioning, decommissioning could happen anytime, not 30 years from now. I'm requesting that you commissioners look over docket EL 17-055 from Clark County, number 37, their final decision. And I will include this for your immediate review. But I will review a few things that the the PUC put on this application, and you have the ability you will override them. So just remember that you're here to do a job. And part of that job is what they had to do to override the neglect in their county. It says here, number 37 requirement, funded by turbine owner, annually a rate of $5,000 per turbine for 30 years. Okay, I'll just give you this and you guys take a look at it and learn it and remember that when you make your decision. I request this be denied tonight. If you move forward, you'll fall into litigation more than likely.
Ruby Holder.
I'm Ruby Holborn from Sioux Falls. The Deuel County Planning Commission Ordinance B 2004-01 reads, whereas the Deuel County, South Dakota Board of County Commissioners deems it necessary for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, and the general welfare of the county to enact a zoning regulation and to promote for its administration. I believe another wind farm permit will not accomplish this. We have heard and read these complaints from southern Deuel County residents who live in the Buffalo Ridge 2 wind farm. We have read peer-reviewed research information that was not paid for by the wind industry. We know it will enrich some and impoverish others. Article 1, Section 104 purpose reads, these regulations are necessary for the best physical development of the county. The regulations are intended to preserve and protect existing property uses and values against adverse or unharmonious adjacent uses. The zoning ordinance purpose does not read that it is for economic development. Our politicians and wind developers are selling Crown Bridge 2 as being an economic development for our community. and of course to help our schools? Or is it to grow more government? February 28, 2017, Deuel County Commission meeting. Jim Nichols from Lake Benton, Minnesota, spoke on behalf of the Deuel County Ag Development for making an economic impact on the county. He stated in Minnesota it had been a tremendous success for county and schools. He also stated 3 high schools have closed in Lincoln County. Since the first turbines were installed in the early 1990s in Lincoln County, Minnesota, the population has decreased. In fact, according to Wikipedia, from 1990 to 2010, the population has decreased at a faster rate than here in Deuel County. It appears turbines and their associated money has not attracted people to live in Lincoln County, Minnesota. I have found the populations have either stayed the same or decreased in the 14 South Dakota counties that have operating wind farms. Only Brookings County has grown. At least on the surface it seems this is basically because the cities of Brookings and adjacent Volga have grown, and not because of the wind industry. Could it be wind turbines is one of the tools our national, state, and local politicians are using to depopulate rural America? Please deny this application for the purpose of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the county. South Dakota for Safe, Responsible, Renewable Energy.org. Thank you.
George Holborn.
My name is George Holborn, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Nearly 2 years ago, I submitted to this board several independent research studies dated back to 1980. These studies implicated wind turbines of 1.5 megawatt and larger as a source of negative health effects such as headaches, nausea, vertigo, and tinnitus, as far as 1.8 miles from the nearest turbine. Some of that work, although at the time incomplete, was conducted by researcher Stephen Cooper. Tonight I am submitting the following by Cooper. Subjective Perception of Wind Turbine Noise 2017. Subject Perception of Wind Turbine Noise, the Stereo Approach 2017. Sensing but Not Hearing, the Problem of Wind Turbine Noise 2018. I encourage you to study it carefully. From his own words, you will realize Cooper has provided you with a clear picture of the truth scientifically, proving some of us are unable to live among the turbines. I understand new work is underway involving what effects industrial wind turbine infrasound has on the human brain. In the zoning regulations, it seems people on small parcels are encouraged to live on county roads, preferably oil roads. The reason is to reduce interaction with farming practices. Question: do you think some of your fellow Deuel County citizens who are forced to live among the turbines should embrace this maneuver by the board and the wind developers who have now placed them in an industrial zone? So you have discretion, not unlike any other issues that come before this board. Wind developers have discretion. In the past, both the board and the wind developers have shown willingness to move turbines away from people's homes. Please put people before profits. At a commission meeting last January, Todd Kay suggested the board be receptive to written questions. For whatever reason, I never received an answer to a question I submitted last January. The question was, what is the relative amount of infrasound produced when the turbine output is increased from 2.0 to 4.2 megawatt? Keep in mind, in the case of the 2.0, 2.5 megawatt turbines, homes have been abandoned out to 1.4 miles. Question: have you reviewed the following GE 2.1-116 and GE 2.3-116 manuals? operation, repair, safety, owners, manufacturer's warranty. Please deny this project.
Ed and Anita Rammel.
I'm Anita Rammel, and my husband and I live in Cottington County, but we do have land in Deuel County. And I'm glad to see a lot of you people here because you were the same people that were in Cottington County. And I'm glad you sent out these flyers, you know, because it really makes you think about what it's doing. But is it real? Is it the truth? NextEra and any wind power has got all over the country. They have their experts that say this. You know, you're all denying that this isn't truth. But is it fake news what you guys have? We do wish that you would approve this wind power, because people say that it is bad for the landscape, all these towers. But you know, I've gone west, and I'd much rather see a wind tower there than a smokestack. And it doesn't matter who buys this electricity, because if it goes to Minneapolis, if Xcel sells it to Minneapolis, at least someone is trying to reduce the, you know, what do you want to say, the bad wind power, or the bad fuels. You know, someone has to make a step to go forward. And I think the wind power is something that we need to do. And you say, well, over these aquifers, you know, these guys do so many tests. They've been to our place and they've already moved the tower 3 times because of different places. They find something, they move it. And that is what their experts do. They come in from different states, they're not local people,
Without a permit?
and they drill and say, okay, this isn't suitable, but this is. And you have to take in consideration, they have their experts, they know what they're doing, just like all around the country. And I think that you guys, for your county, for your state, for the nation, for the world, we need to approve this, because it's going to be better for us in the long run. Thank you.
Patrick Lynch.
My name is Patrick Lynch, and I live by Waverly, and I work here in town. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about your setbacks here. So your setbacks are very similar to Cottington County, it's almost exactly the same. And you have 110% the distance from the property line of non-participants and distance from your public right-of-way. Well, these GE turbines, GE has documentation out, and their suggestion for safety from ice throw for this type of stuff is to take the number 1.5, and then you take the height of the turbine, and then the diameter of the blades of the turbine, you add those together, and you take that times 1.5, which will end up being much greater than 110%, or even what they have set back here to protect people from ice throw. And they did extensive studies on that. And when I asked that question of Tyler and Chris at the Cottington County meeting, what they said is that they thought at 110% it would be statistically small chance that somebody would get hit from ice throw. I don't think that taking a chance on a statistically small chance of somebody getting hit is putting the best effort forward of trying to protect the county's residents from getting hurt seriously by these turbines or somebody even out on their property near their property line. I really think you guys should look hard on at this, and make sure that these setbacks are to the manufacturer's recommendations. Because the manufacturer is putting out there different information than what you're seeing here. I think you guys need to take that into consideration. I think you should deny this permit for now, for sure. Thank you very much.
Jay Haley.
That's me, sir. I just signed it as a.
Brittany Bruce. All right. And I don't know if it's Dave Olson or, no, sorry, it's a different Dave.
Dave Orthouse.
Oh, maybe, Dave Orthouse?
I'm Dave Ordhouse from Goodwin. The only thing I got really to say is that I'm really proud of my parents, my grandpa, grandma, for the landscape they left me. I'm proud of that. Will you be proud of what you're gonna leave for yours? Will you? That's all I got.
That's good.
Okay, Dave Adam.
Good evening. My name is Dave Adam. I'm from Clark, South Dakota, and I'm representing South Dakotans for safe and responsible renewable energy. I'm just going to kind of wing it tonight. I don't have anything written. We've been dealing with this for 2 years, over 2 years, George, I guess. We've been to quite a few of these settings, and the one thing that I've learned about developers is they'll tell you what they want to hear, what you want to hear. Vestas Towers is what they're going to be putting up in Clark County. They have established the ADLS system on their tower. It's not something that the FAA needs to approve. It's already on the tower, manufactured on the tower. So it is a system. We're going to have it in Clark, up in Crocker. They already approved it on Avon. It's an item that is out there. They've approved it in the state of North Dakota, statewide, for all new projects being built, and also projects that have been developed. They're going to have it on by, don't quote me on this, but like by 2020. Those existing towers are going to have this ADLS system on their tower, on their project. That's a fact. Okay, I'm going to move on. How many veterans do I have in the house? You're a veteran? You got an Army hat on. I was in the Army, okay? Today my son's a Marine. I talked to him 2 or 3 years ago about this. And he told me when he gets his LES, there's a negative number for chow. When he goes to the mess hall, when I was in, they fed us. If we went to McDonald's, that was on you. He gets a negative number on his LES statement for food. Wind developers today are trying to get these projects rushed through so they can get the production tax credit. You can't deny that. They're getting the production tax credit from the federal tax monies from everybody's paycheck here, but you can't feed a service member today that's protecting us and the freedoms that we have in this country. They got to buy their own chow. but these guys can put up a wind tower that only produces 30% of the time. Is that right? I think not. I ask you to deny this application, put a moratorium on any and all projects for however long it takes for you guys to really learn and study and figure out what these guys are trying to do. Put a moratorium on it for a year's time and learn what you gotta learn about it. Thank you for your time.
Amy Tuttle.
My name is Amy Tuttle. I live in Watertown. My children go to school in Waverly, and my interests lie in Troy, South Dakota. I'm asking that you deny the Crown Bridge CUP application as it pertains to the section about livestock protection. I have available to you 10 to 12 independent of pro-wind or anti-wind studies, peer reviews, doctors giving testimony on how livestock is negatively affected to the point of death by wind turbines. In my research, I didn't find anything offered by NextEra or really any wind energy company providing a study backing their stance that there's no effect. All these studies pretty much note low frequency noise, vibrations, and infrasound. Horses, 400 goats in Taiwan were studied, 1,600 minks in Denmark. In Poland, domestic geese. In Canada, the tourist attraction Ocean Breeze Emu Farm that ran for over 20 years. And then when they put in nearby wind turbines, their emu started to die. Today, that farm is closed. They no longer were able to sustain them by the wind turbines. Wisconsin, biologist Dr. Lynn Knuth, her testimony in front of the Public Service Commission relayed problems with animal reproduction and chickens, calving, spontaneous abortions in cows, sheepdogs. Even the sheepdogs who are working dogs are adversely affected by wind turbines. I have all this information for you, and I will happily leave it to you. I ask that you compare it to the information provided by NextEra to dispute what I'm willing to give to you and weigh for yourself the pros and cons. Because whether it's my horses, my sheep, my sheepdogs, you know, my 4-year-olds, little lambs, we want to know that they're safe. The section reads, the permittees shall take precautions to protect livestock during all parts of the project's life. If they don't acknowledge that there's any way that they're going to harm our livestock, is there a manner that's acceptable by the board? Is there a manner to stop them? And what happens if you do find 5 years down the road that all of our livestock is gone? What happens then? Have you considered it? Thank you.
I can't read the first name, but the last name is Meyer, and maybe it's Vince Meyer.
My name is Vince Meyer, Millbank. I've got land right up against the Deuel County line, Grant County. Got a letter here I was going to read from Patty Brown. She says, we spent years and thousands of dollars to improve our property as an investment, that one day when I have to move from my home, I would be able to recapture some of that money. I feel that it is unfair to have a wind farm allowed so close to my home and what I stand to lose when I sell my acreage. Who would want to invest in a property where there's a multitude of wind turbines? There are plenty of other options for them to choose a home outside of these wind farms. My property value will dramatically decrease. I have contacted local retailers in our area, and all give me the same answer: the decrease in value that these turbines will bring to my area. As a concerned citizen, I am afraid my people have made a decision based on the cash they will be paid and don't have a full knowledge or the hassle of having to live near them. They are being compensated, and I am one dealing with this pollution every day, besides what it's going to cost me. I really have to wonder how many have analyzed the long-term effects and costs of our entire area over the next couple decades for the benefit of a few landowners. Please open your minds and hearts to everyone involved and consider the negative effects that your decision will have on so many people. I ask the board to deny this permit to defend Deuel County Ordinance Section 103, Section 278, to protect my safety, order, comfort, convenience, appearance of my property. My property is my most valuable asset, so you must protect it, and me and my family. After listening to everybody else's testimony here, I can't believe that this many people can be so wrong, come out tonight, present themselves before this board, and back there watching the board. There's a couple of you on the board that look like you're really paying attention, but the rest of you I got a question about. I've been to boards, P&Z boards in Grant County, and it seems the same way. These people are concerned, and I'm concerned, and I think you've got a big responsibility on your heads to do what the people want. They've lived here all their lives. These people come in and you give them